Sebastian appeared on the surface of Tetra, the planet chosen for the trial of evolution, and braced for the strangeness of a foreign world. But instead, everything felt unnervingly familiar. The weight of his body settled just as it should. The air moved through his lungs with effortless rhythm, neither too thin nor too rich. The light, diffused through the sky above, held the same pale clarity he had known all his life. Even the distant mountain ridges, draped in snow and shadow, seemed like echoes of known landscapes. Tetra hadn't simply been built to host the trial. It had been crafted to replicate the conditions of Earth, Akka, and Liber with perfect precision. It was as if the planet hadn't been designed to challenge them, but to deceive them, balanced, familiar, and impossible to distrust. The chosen battleground was a valley near the planet's highest peak, a majestic landscape framed by colossal, snow-covered mountains. The valley stretched outward in a frozen sprawl, a harsh and breathtaking canvas of jagged rock and ice. The peaks stood like ancient sentinels, their white crowns glittering under the filtered sunlight that pierced the planet's familiar atmosphere. The valley floor, littered with boulders and patches of eternal frost, bore silent witness to the confrontation about to unfold. Sebastian took it in from the cockpit of his aircraft, awe stirring within him. The view was overwhelming, a haunting beauty sculpted by nature, untouched until now. The sheer magnitude of it silenced his thoughts. For a moment, he wasn't a soldier. He was a soul staring into the sublime. None of the other species' forces were in sight. Just cliffs, wind, and the endless stretch of frost. Sebastian scanned the horizon again, knowing the others had landed, somewhere. But the landscape had swallowed them whole. Tetra had split them apart. He blinked through the HUD filters. Empty terrain, no friendly signals. Just him in the cold, and a map filled with silence. Still no signatures, just him, alone in the valley. It felt like exile. A moment later, Adrian and Dane materialized in their own cockpits nearby. He raised his hand in silent greeting. They returned the gesture without a word. Scanning the deployment below, Sebastian saw the formation in all its terrifying order. Massive demolition tanks lined the front, 5 meters tall and nearly 10 wide. Fortresses on treads, built to withstand anything. Behind them, the ground trembled under the slow advance of even more tanks, their treads crushing ice with a low, guttural growl. Mini-tanks darted between them like predators on a leash. Compact, armored, and restless. Overhead, warplanes carved screaming lines through the sky, their contrails briefly glowing against the pale sun. At the rear, a row of adaptive suits stood as still as statues, sleek silhouettes of silent power, waiting for orders. Their chrome plating flickered with the valley's fractured light. Each suit monitored vitals, sealed wounds, adjusted body temperature, and displayed live battlefield data across its visor. High-tech drones drifted above them like silent hawks. Sebastian should have felt powerful. Instead, he felt heavy, as if the cockpit itself were filled with gravity. This is it, he thought. This was the moment he'd always chased. Recognition, purpose, the whole world watching. And yet, I'm done chasing more. After this, I don't need to prove anything. I'm not going to keep pushing like the world owes me something. I've already gone further than I ever imagined. From here on out, I'll fight like hell to hold on to what's mine. He glanced sideways at Adrian and Dane, both steady, but not fearless. In their eyes, he saw trust. But he also saw fear, and that fear wasn't entirely theirs. They shouldn't be here, not like this, not because of him. What they didn't know, what no one knew, was that every contest, every selection, every critical success that had led them to this moment had been manipulated. Gently, quietly, by him. It hadn't started with malice. A hesitation here, a boost of confidence there, a whisper planted in a judge's mind. Nothing overt, nothing cruel, just influence. Enough to nudge fate in the direction he wanted. At first, it was to keep them close. He hadn't wanted to go alone. Then, it became harder to stop. The greater the stakes, the greater the control. If he hadn't done it, he realized, they wouldn't be in these cockpits, staring down a war they didn't ask for. He hadn't doubted their abilities. He had feared abandonment, being unseen again, unchosen, and now they were here, because of him. Guilt coiled in his chest like wire. "They're my friends," he reminded himself. "The only real ones I've ever had. I'll protect them, whatever it takes." He opened the comms. "Don't worry, guys. We've got this. Look at this firepower. We're nearly invincible. I'll be right beside you." He meant every word, and he meant it as a promise. Dane didn't return Sebastian's gesture at first. He was scanning the terrain, calculating angles, eyes sharp with unreadable focus. "This is no victory march," he finally muttered through the comms. Adrian smiled back, but his voice trembled. "Whatever happens, we don't forget who we are, right?" The sky tore open. A burning sphere descended from above, roaring toward the valley. It struck the ground several kilometers away, the impact erupting in a thunderous blast that shook the earth. A tower of fire burst into the sky, flames clawing the clouds, casting a hellish glow across the battlefield. And then, from within the flames, a face began to form. It was colossal, human-like, sculpted in living fire. It hovered above the earth, gazing down at them with eyes that seemed too ancient to belong to any one species. Every soldier who saw it felt something familiar, like remembering a dream they had never shared. Then it spoke. Its voice, vast and resonant, rippled through the air like a drumbeat from the core of the world. "Your lives, and those of all you love, now rest in your hands." Sebastian gripped the controls tighter, knuckles white. The weight of the words wrapped around his chest like armor, and like a chain. For the first time, he wasn't thinking of strategy. He was thinking of his parents, of the academy, of the faces that never believed he'd belong here. "You wield the power of life and death, and the responsibility that comes with it." Dane blinked, eyes narrowing beneath the glow of the HUD. His lips moved silently as he spoke to himself. "This isn't about strength, it's about precision. One misstep, and the outcome shifts." He knew the cost of getting it wrong. His mind had already started running simulations, outcomes, losses, sacrifice ratios. Your enemies are formidable, armed as you are. But on the battlefield of existence, victory belongs not to the strongest, but to the wisest. Adrian's breath caught. His fingers hovered over the trigger pad, unmoving. The flames reflected in his visor danced across his irises, and he felt something in his chest shift. It wasn't fear. It was reverence. Not for the entity in the sky, but for the moment. For the chance to prove that compassion could be strength. The trial of evolution begins not with the first to arrive, but with the last. "Stand before me, all of you, and it shall commence." A hush followed, not silence, but anticipation, sharp and electric. No one moved, not yet. The fiery face fell silent, frozen in midair. A breathless stillness swept across the valley. Then, all at once, the machines roared to life. Engines screamed, warplanes surged upward, soldiers advanced like a tidal wave of metal and will. Sebastian's aircraft shot forward, cutting through the rising storm of wind and motion. He led the charge toward the towering column of fire. Strangely, the blaze radiated no heat, and beyond its flickering edges, nothing could be seen, only an opaque veil of burning light. Seconds later, Dane's plane pulled up beside him. Then came Adrian. The rest of the fleet followed, closing in behind them. On the ground, tanks rumbled forward and soldiers sprinted across the fractured terrain, forming ranks without hesitation. As the last of the foot soldiers reached the valley's center, the flaming face turned its gaze upon them once more. Its mouth opened, not with fury, but with solemn command. "The moment of truth has arrived. Save your species." And with that, the fire vanished. In its place stood silence, bare land, and at last, 3 armies facing one another. 3 worlds. 3 histories. The trial of evolution had begun. The fate of 3 species, and the judgment of the universe, rested on this war.